people, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing my Teaching Tarot series part 2. We've already done part 1 where I gave you an intro to tarot. I told you about how I got into tarot and we broke down all 22 cards of the major arcana. That is up on the YouTube channel if you want to go check it out. And now we're going to be moving into part 2. So the rest of the parts we're going to be talking about the minor arcana, the rest of the cards, and we're going to be talking about each individual suit. So today we're starting with the suit of swords. I'm doing my best to break it down by seasons, and every different tarot reader is going to have their own opinion on time frames that are associated with the cards and seasons that are associated with the cards. You could do research until you are blue in the face, until you are exhausted, and you're going to find different research that backs up different thoughts and different opinions. So I am sharing with you my research and I'm sharing with you my thoughts when it comes to the tarot. Keep that in mind. I'm not a professional, I'm not an expert, but I'm sharing with you what I know and the research that I have done. So for me, the swords are associated with the season of fall or autumn. And the way that I like to think about that is the sun in Libra. When the sun moves into Libra is when we have the fall equinox or the autumn equinox. Libra marks the beginning of fall. Libra is an air sign. Air signs are connected with the swords. Swords are connected with the fall and autumn. You get where I'm going with that? Yes. So we're going to be breaking it down by swords, and then the next couple of episodes will be pentacles, wands, and cups in order of fall, winter, spring, and summer. So today we're going to be talking about the swords. I came organized and prepared today, so I have all of the swords out and ready. Get your tarot deck if you have one. Get your notebook, a pen and pencil, whatever you need, a tea, a water, a snack. We're gonna be here for a minute. I'm going to do my best to take my time. I have outlined everything that we need to go over. There's pages upon pages of everything that we need to talk about. I'm gonna do my best to slowly move through it, but I'm also going to be tapping into the air sign sword energy, which is very quick moving, very fast paced. It's all cerebral with the swords. So bear with me. If at any time you need to pause the video and you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to pause it, write down what you need to, unpause, come back, okay? If you're watching this on TikTok live, thank you so much for being here. Please tap the screen for me and just follow along the best that you can. There's obviously no pause and restart function, but you get it. Okay, so today we're talking about the swords. So what are the swords? Well, the suit of swords is connected to air sign energy, so it is Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. Since swords are air energy, they represent our thoughts, our words, our logic, and our mind. Wind can be sharp. It carries messages that are clear and transparent, so it allows us to see things plainly as they are. And the swords are connected to the air, and air is connected to the wind. So the swords come through to help us see things clearly. The suit of swords is associated with autumn and fall seasons. There are 14 cards in each suit of the minor arcana, starting with the ace, 2 through 10, and then the court cards, which are page, knight, queen, and king. We'll be going over every single one of those today for the suit of swords. The strengths of the swords are all in the realm of thought, intelligence, and communication. It's how we structure our world, organize, and analyze data. This provides us with knowledge and clarity. People connected to the suit of swords are curious, logical, disciplined, moral, and fair. The weaknesses of the swords is that they can also be problematic. Think of swords being able to be used for good and evil. They have the ability to save, sever, or to harm. The element of swords or air is also associated with conflict, aggression, and violence. At its worst, the suit of swords can be used to bully and intimidate. In terms of time frame, the swords are weeks. And this is another thing that you're going to find differences depending on who you talk to and what they believe. I don't think there's anything right or wrong. This is just what I follow in terms of time frames. I think of the swords as weeks. Wands are days, cups are months, pentacles are years. And the way that I think about it is if you were to have a surgery, which would be a sword, you know what I'm saying? Like a scalpel, an incision. If you were to have a surgery, it might take you weeks to heal and recover. If you get a cut on your finger, on your body, it might take a week or longer to heal. So that's how I think of swords, as weeks. So let's get into it. That's what the swords are. Those are the strengths and weaknesses of the swords. Now we're going to start with the very first card in the suit of the swords. The Ace of Swords. I also want to let you know that some of my writing for each of the cards is a little longer and some is a little bit shorter. There's no real reason for that. It's just what I wrote down, what I researched. So just so you know. What I'm going to do is talk about each individual card. I'm going to give you a brief general meaning on what each individual card is. I'm going to tell you what the card is associated with astrologically, and I'm also going to give you some keywords associated with the card, and then I will tell you what the card could represent if it shows up in the reverse. I do read reversals, but you don't have to. I just want to tell you what the reverse meaning could be. And also sometimes readers will just read the upright card because you can keep the reversal meaning in the back of your mind, even if the card is still upright. So it's up to you entirely whether you want to read reversals or not, but I do. So I'm going to share with you what the card could represent if it shows up in the reverse as well. So the first card in the suit of swords is the Ace. This is the Ace of Swords. And this is associated with all air signs. So it's Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. If the Ace of Swords shows up, it represents all air signs. The Ace of Swords is a symbol of clarity, discernment, and the incredible power of the mind. It suggests a position in which we can easily cut through confusion or misunderstanding in order to see the truth of a situation. When this card shows up, it's time to push past mental blocks and let go of limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. This card represents an opportunity to evaluate our life's path and determine what changes need to be made to turn our dreams into reality. Think outside the box, expand the mind, broaden your horizons, explore a new skill or interest, or build relationships with others who share similar thoughts, beliefs, and interests when you see this card. Sometimes this Ace of Swords shows up to indicate the severing of ties with someone or something. Some keywords associated with the Ace of Swords are truth, clarity, breakthroughs, epiphanies, new ideas, focus, good decisions, victory, and new beginnings. In the reverse, the Ace of Swords can represent a lack of knowledge, an inability to think clearly, failure, animosity, insults, bullying, misunderstandings, memory loss, poor or no communication, creative blocks, and frustration. And that is the Ace of Swords. I also read somewhere that the Ace of Swords can be an indicator that there is a new relationship coming into your life. But I don't know how much validity there is to that, so that'll be up to you depending on what you're reading, depending on what energy you're getting from the cards. But it could indicate that there's someone new entering your life for a relationship, for a friendship, for a partnership, for a work relationship, etc. That's the Ace of Swords. I also like to think of this card as the truth. So whenever you pull this card and you need some sort of validation, this card can give that to you. Say that you're doing a reading and you're thinking that you're crazy, you're doing a reading and you're channeling something, you're picking up on an energy and you're like, is this right? The Ace of Swords pops out, that's how you know. This is the universe or spirit validating to you that you are correct or that you're speaking the truth or thinking the truth. That's the Ace of Swords. Okay. And then after the Ace of Swords comes the Two of Swords. And this card is Moon in Libra. So the Two of Swords is a card that describes a time of being blinded or tied up. There is a general feeling of indecision and of having no choice because all potential paths are both good and bad equally. This is a feeling which is typically present in people who were born under a moon in Libra. They have that indecision energy, they have that hesitation energy because all paths seem to be equally good and bad, so it's hard to make a decision. That's what this card represents. The Two of Swords can also denote a stalemate, a truce, or being at a crossroads. The advice with this card is to find peace within yourself and then find the answer within your peace. This is a card of meditation, not action. Sometimes with this card, I personally get the message, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Some keywords associated with the Two of Swords are tension, balance, on the verge of change, needing to make a decision, dilemma, stalemate, difficulty, and hesitation. In the reverse, this card can represent anxiety, having too much information, feeling overwhelmed, confusion, no right choice, and truth realized. A lot of times this card shows up when people are refusing to make a decision because, like I said, both paths or all paths seem to be equally good and bad, making the decision hard to make. That's the Two of Swords. After the Two of Swords is the Three of Swords. This is Saturn in Libra. That's the astrological aspect associated with the Three of Swords, Saturn in Libra. I'm gonna let that sound go by. You def get that too for the Two of Swords. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Yeah. Okay, Three of Swords, the sound has passed. Saturn in Libra. The Three of Swords describes a time where there is restriction or deception of some kind, so it represents heartbreak. With this card, there is fear to move on, and intense emotions impair a more logical way of thinking. The emotions are too much, the heartbreak is too much, the thoughts and the feelings are too much. That's the energy of this. So it impairs your way of thinking, it impairs logical ways of thinking. It can also represent that a previous or current relationship / situation has been tainted with dark clouds of indecision, confusion, negligence, or unresolved conflicts that are now threatening the stability of things. Libra rules relationships, partnerships, how we connect to others, how we relate to each other. Saturn rules restrictions and stability. So this card showing up represents that there is some sort of imbalance within a partnership, a friendship, a situation because of some sort of negligence or some sort of harmfulness, something like that. The events that lead to the Three of Swords are often coming out of the blue and unexpected, which makes the pain even worse. The Three of Swords is also about an emotional release. The rain on this card represents an emotional release or crying. So when this card shows up, it may be time to cry, to let it all out. Expressing and feeling your sadness is part of the cleansing and healing process, and letting it all out helps us move on to better. Sometimes this card is an indicator of lying and cheating as well. Some keywords associated with the Three of Swords are heartbreak, emotional pain, sorrow, grief, hurt, denial, sadness, and separation. In the reverse, this card can indicate negative self-talk, releasing pain, optimism, forgiveness, healing, recovery, and reconciliation. That is the Three of Swords. Sometimes this card can also be about the words that you're using towards yourself and the words that you're thinking about yourself can be adding to why you're feeling a certain type of way. Because we talked about how the swords represent air energy, which is our mind, our thoughts, our logic. So sometimes this could be us hurting our own heart with the words that we're choosing and the things that we're thinking. That is the Three of Swords. Moving on, we have the Four of Swords, which is a card I've been pulling a lot lately because it represents rest. It represents a period of needing to rest and find peace within. And I really feel like the energy we're in right now as a collective, or have been for the past month or so, is the Four of Swords, because we don't need to rush into anything, because we need to rest, get our energy back, get our clarity together, get our mind right, save our energy for what's to come in the near future. But the Four of Swords is connected to Jupiter in Libra. That's the astrological association with the Four of Swords. Jupiter in Libra. The Four of Swords is a peaceful energy that suggests now is the time to rest and recuperate from the battles fought so far. This doesn't mean that all problems are solved. This is just a reminder that there must also be space and time for joy and recovery. We don't always have to be battling. We don't always have to be in the energy of fighting or flying. Sometimes we just need to rest and recuperate. And that's what this card is about. When this card shows up, it invites us to focus on ourselves, and it invites us to regain our energy and motivation. With this card, enjoy the time to work on clarity of mind and spirit. Cast away the dark clouds of fear and doubt. Have faith in fate and find confidence within yourself. Some keywords associated with the Four of Swords are rest, relaxation, peace, solitude, sanctuary, recuperation, rejuvenation, healing, stillness, and serenity. If this card shows up in the reverse, the Four of Swords can represent a loss of faith, a feeling of panic or distress, a spiritual crisis, a gradual return to normalcy, the end of a period of mourning. It can also represent exhaustion, burnout, and deep contemplation when it shows up in the reverse. That's the Four of Swords. Get your rest, babe. If you need it, you need it, okay? We gotta listen to our bodies. That's something I've been really having to pay attention to lately. Sorry, it's time for a quick personal anecdote. The Four of Swords has been following me because I haven't been listening. So the Four of Swords will follow you if you aren't listening. And I know you know what I'm talking about. Let's let the beeping happen. But that sounds like confirmation to me. You know what I'm talking about. The Four of Swords lets us know that we need to rest. Like, our body is asking for rest. It doesn't matter how long, period. But we live in a world where it can feel like we constantly need to be producing and creating and doing and living and whatever. But it's not real. We're all on divine timing. So rest when you need to. Rest is productive. That's what that card means. And I've really been learning that lesson heavily this winter season in the Northern Hemisphere. Spirit's like, if you're not going to rest, we're going to force you to rest. If you're not going to allow your body to get the rest and shut down, we're going to shut down everything around you and force you to get the rest. That is the Four of Swords. But it's good for us. You know what I'm saying? It's really good for us so that we can avoid the burnout, so that we can avoid injury or severe sicknesses, things like that. It's kind of an energy of like avoiding the hospital. I've heard it explained like that before. Sometimes we do need to just like rest and relax and chill out so that we do avoid going to the hospital, right? Because if we aren't allowing our bodies to rest and we aren't taking care of ourselves and our mind and our body and our spirit, then we could end up in the hospital. Not to scare you, but that's just some energies that I picked up with the Four of Swords as well. Anyway, moving on, we have the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is probably the longest one that I wrote about because the Five of Swords is very complex. There's a lot of complexities to this card, so I'm going to do my best to explain the Five of Swords to you the best way that I know how to. So the Five of Swords is connected to Venus in Aquarius. That's its astrological association, Venus in Aquarius. And the Five of Swords describes a time when balance and confidence in ourselves is lost. The individual is focusing on a projection of their dreams or projections from others instead of the reality. This card can also indicate that the querent or the person who is getting the reading doesn't truly believe in themselves or their abilities. Out of fear of loss or defeat, the individual may resort to cunning ways in which means justify ends. Think about taking shortcuts to reach a goal. That's the Five of Swords. And not really caring who gets hurt in the process, and not really caring how you have to reach that goal, just doing it and finding any shortcut necessary. That is the Five of Swords energy. There is also a fear of being humiliated or taken advantage of with this card. The Five of Swords can also signify a sense of jealousy from the querent or other people onto the individual receiving the reading. The illustration on the Five of Swords depicts the loss of friendships or alliances. There are people walking away from this person. It depicts the loss of friendships or alliances. This card usually shows up when there has been a falling out with someone, a disagreement or conflict, and you are walking away with a sense of sadness or loss. With this card, it invites us to pick our battles wisely. You may be tempted to fight every conflict to ensure that you get your way, to prove that you're right, or to defend yourself. However, choosing your battles wisely is a much better way of life than engaging in every disagreement. Sometimes with this card, I also get, you will get the last laugh. Again, it just depends on the energy that you're picking up when you're doing the reading and the cards that follow. But sometimes the Five of Swords can be somebody who is projecting onto you or who has stepped into your life trying to win over some situation, trying to deceive you or defeat you in some way. There is a sense of competition that shows up with this card. And if you're on the receiving end of this competition or this deceptive energy, you may feel like somebody has gotten over on you, or you may feel like somebody else is winning in a situation. But this card shows up for me sometimes to let you know and to let me know that we will get the last laugh, period. Some keywords that are associated with the Five of Swords are defeat, loss, failure, conflict, jealousy, anxiety, shady behavior, deception, poor communication, and tension. In the reverse, this card can represent resolution, making amends, compromise, a feeling of regret or remorse, cutting your losses, forgetting and forgiving, and relief. That's the Five of Swords. Sometimes it's a very petty energy, but sometimes you could be the one being petty and you may not even know it, and this card is calling you out. So it's really just going to depend on whatever cards surround it and whatever energy you're picking up on in the reading. Always use your intuition with the cards too. After the Five of Swords is the Six of Swords. Let me get a drink of tea. Chip on shoulder, I like that. That's very Five of Swords energy too. Six of Swords, this is Mercury in Aquarius. The Six of Swords represents a moving into calmer waters energy. So this card depicts these rough waves on one side and then calm water on the other side. So this card is an indicator that you are moving into calmer waters. The individual or the querent, the person receiving the reading, has acquired some new way of thinking based on the past traumas and experiences. They must now use the new way of thinking to change their environment and relationships. Also, this card indicates a state of transition, leaving behind what was familiar and moving towards the unknown. This change may be your own doing, or it may be forced upon you. This change will be essential for personal growth and development. Any sadness over losing or releasing what was familiar and comfortable will soon be replaced by greater mental clarity and a renewed acceptance of change. The Six of Swords invites us to let go of whatever is holding us back and gaze ahead into the future. Choose the way that is most in alignment with your highest good and long-term potential. You are headed towards a much better position in life when this card shows up, as long as you are willing to evolve, compromise, and shed whatever you no longer need. Some keywords associated with the Six of Swords are transition, change, smooth sailing, rite of passage, releasing baggage, moving forward, progress, and escape. In the reverse, this card can indicate resistance to change, unfinished business, refusing to let go, stuck in the past, returning to trouble, feeling trapped, and running away from problems. That's all if the card shows up in the reverse. And sometimes this card can represent travel in a reading. Maybe you've been thinking about traveling, maybe you've been planning to travel, or maybe this is letting you know that there's an opportunity to travel coming up for you soon. And it could even be overseas travel, since there's a boat going in the water. But it's always about a state of transition and moving into calmer waters, as long as you are willing to do the work, embrace the change, and shed what you no longer need. Why can I not say that? Shed what you no longer need. You wouldn't think that was a tongue twister, but that was hard for me to say. Shed what you no longer need, period. Moving on, we have the Seven of Swords, which is Moon in Aquarius. And the Seven of Swords introduces the concept of what anxious thoughts can do to an otherwise clear mind. With this card, insecurities trouble the individual. This card can indicate self-sabotage energy and that the individual doesn't think of themselves as good enough or worthy, and doesn't think that they have the time needed to do what they must. There are trust issues and lies with this card. This card can represent projection from the querent or from others onto the person receiving the reading. When this card shows up, it may indicate that you or someone in your life is having a hard time getting away with something. There are instances where we are forced to be sneaky, hoping we won't be discovered. When we are found out, we have to face the consequences. Some keywords associated with the Seven of Swords are deception, sneakiness, lies, self-sabotage, feeling suspicious, projection, gossip, fraud, theft, scams, and strategy. In the reverse, the Seven of Swords can represent being found out, getting caught. It can also represent a confession, conscience, regret, maliciousness, and the truth being revealed. It's also interesting to mention that in this card there are 7 swords, right? Since it's the Seven of Swords, but the character can only carry 5 of the 7 swords. So there's still 2 there that this person will probably be coming back for. So sometimes it can represent another individual in your life who just keeps taking from you and keeps plotting on you and keeps scheming, and they plan to continue to keep coming back to do it. That's a part of the strategy or the plan. This could also be you doing that in other people's lives as well. But that's the Seven of Swords. After the Seven of Swords, we move into the Eight of Swords. And the Eight of Swords is Jupiter in Gemini, and also Mercury in Sagittarius. So it's an air sign card, of course, since we're talking about the swords, but I wanted to bring this up because Jupiter in Gemini and Mercury in Sagittarius are not placements that those planets like to be in. Because Jupiter in Gemini is moving way too fast, there's no time to ground yourself to support the expansion that's going on with Jupiter energy. Gemini is so quick moving and so fast paced that Jupiter doesn't like being in Gemini, just like Mercury doesn't like to be in Sagittarius because it's moving way too slow. Mercury loves being in Gemini because of how quick paced it is, and Jupiter loves being in Sagittarius because it allows you to see the bigger picture and it allows for time to take place for us to expand and grow. So this is a card of Jupiter in Gemini. So now that I've already told you that Jupiter doesn't like being in Gemini because it's moving too fast, let's talk about the Eight of Swords. This card represents feeling captured and restrained by the environmental conditions and circumstances. The individual is trying to find a logical solution, but there doesn't seem to be one. This card always represents repetition to me, And it can indicate that someone has been thinking and thinking and thinking to no avail. No answer has come from all of the thinking. The more that the person thinks, the more confused they become. When this card shows up, it means that your thoughts and beliefs are no longer serving you. You may be overthinking, creating negative patterns, or limiting yourself by only considering the worst case scenario. This card assures that there is a way out of the current predicament. A new perspective is needed. Be open to finding the answer rather than getting stuck on the problem. I get that a lot with this card. It's like the thoughts keep focusing on the worst case scenario, or we just keep focusing on what the problem is, but we're not actually open to receiving the answer because our mind is clouded with the thoughts of, it's all ending, it's all over, I can't figure it out. So be open to the answer instead of remaining stuck in the problem. Sometimes this card is an indicator to just wait. Probably just waiting is going to help to reveal the answer to you. Either the answer will come to you naturally or the situation will sort itself out. So you may not even be needing to think or overthink in a situation anyway, because it will sort itself out. Some keywords associated with the Eight of Swords are negative thoughts, overthinking, doubt, repetition, self-imposed restriction, imprisonment, and victim mentality. In the reverse, this card may signify being open to new perspectives, releasing negative thoughts, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, creating a more positive reality, taking accountability, refusing to play the victim, and self-acceptance. I always associate this card with Mercury retrograde as well. We have 3 Mercury retrogrades every single year, and this card shows up a lot when we are in Mercury retrograde because people start to get in their head, people start to get confused, they start to overthink during Mercury retrograde. So that's kind of what this card is for me. May not be that for you, but it is for me. I see this card a lot during Mercury retrograde, which just lets me know that the person is overthinking. After the Eight of Swords, we have the Nine of Swords. And this is Mars in Gemini. The Nine of Swords indicates the individual is being tormented by their own thoughts, which are usually of anxious nature. This card represents anxiety, stress, and fear. There is the sense that the individual is drawing their violent and masculine energies inwards and hurting themselves with mean thoughts. That's Mars in Gemini. Doesn't have to be, that's not all that Mars in Gemini is, but that's very Mars in Gemini energy, to take those like mean, violent, hateful thoughts that you may have and turn them inwards and speak them about yourself or think them towards yourself. It's kind of like you're your own worst enemy kind of a card, and you're really doing your worst to yourself with your thoughts with this card. This card shows up when the individual is afraid of taking a chance and making a final decision about something since they can't stand their own negative thoughts. The Nine of Swords reminds us that most of the fear and worrying is in our head and not necessarily an accurate representation of what is happening around us. This card often shows up when worry, despair, and anxiety are quite literally keeping us up at night. The individual may not be sleeping well or may be experiencing frequent nightmares. It may be time to reach out for help when this card shows up. We don't need to face this alone. Allow others to support and offer different perspectives. Some keywords associated with the Nine of Swords are anxiety, fear, depression, worry, sleepless nights, nightmares, shame, guilt, and breakdowns. In the reverse, this card can indicate a release of worry, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, just like the Eight of Swords, learning to cope, facing life, accepting help, recovering, improving, and letting go of negativity/stress. That is the Nine of Swords. I've been seeing this card a lot lately too. I had to help somebody today in my DMs who was struggling with the Nine of Swords energy. But sometimes really all you need when you're in the Nine of Swords is just a perspective from somebody else, or just to know that somebody else is going through what you're going through too. That can help. 10 of Swords. After the Nine of Swords is the 10 of Swords. This is Sun and Moon in Gemini. The Ten of Swords is the culmination of the Suit of Swords. It depicts the natural evolution of the swords, which has described the effect of negative thinking and anxiety. The Ten of Swords usually depicts a tragic scene, as you can see. There is too much violence, too much suffering, too much pain, death, chaos, and defeat with this card. The greatest lesson of the swords is that thoughts hold power, and when this power is misused, wicked things can happen in literally any field of life. This card marks a painful yet inevitable ending. I always like to think of this card as representing the end of suffering and that the hard part of a situation is over. In the background, you can see that the sun is starting to come out. There's been a lot of darkness. There's a lot of dark clouds here, but the sun is starting to come out. So it represents a painful ending that was inevitable, but it's also letting us know that the hardest part of a situation is now over and we can start moving forward. We can start picking ourselves back up. We can start being hopeful, optimistic again. All right. Also, this card is a card of goodbyes and the final nail in the coffin of a relationship or situation. Some keywords associated with the Ten of Swords are backstabbing, because this character is literally being stabbed in the back by 10 different swords, so it represents backstabbing, betrayal, exhaustion, a dead end, severing ties, nail in the coffin, and martyr. In the reverse, the Ten of Swords can mean rising above problems or haters, being over the worst, surviving disaster, being saved. It can be an indicator of things getting better, pulling yourself together, and learning from past hardships. That is the Ten of Swords. Okay. So that's the Ace through the 10. And now we're going to talk about the court cards. So the court cards can either represent other people in your life or other people that could be impacting your energy when we're doing the reading, but it can also be a descriptor for yourself, because all of these cards have an archetype that they represent, which I'll be talking about, but just keep that in mind that sometimes the court cards show up to let us see other people in our energy, and sometimes it's about ourselves. I also wrote down the ages that I associate each of these court cards with, which I'll be telling you. So let's just get started. We only have 4 cards left to go over. We're making great progress. I might be moving too fast, and I'm sorry about that. But this is just the pace that we're moving at today. So, Page of Swords. This is the first court card that will show up. And this represents all air signs. So this is an indicator of Gemini, Libra, and or Aquarius, depending on whatever energy you're picking up. And the pages are youth. The pages are youth or children. So I associate pages with the ages 0 to 25. 0 to 25. And in some places, or with some readers, you may get a different age range for this as well. Some people may think of it as up to 18. But I believe that our brain isn't fully developed until 25, and even then it still isn't fully developed, but for the most part, the brain isn't fully developed until age 25. So I associate pages with that child energy of 0 to 25. The Page of Swords is enthusiastic and smart. They are very intelligent, but still haven't specialized in any particular kind of knowledge. They understand difficult concepts and have a quick and young mind to come up with fresh solutions for problems and indecisions. When this card shows up, you are bursting with new ideas and plans for the future. This card typically refers to delayed news, messages incoming, ideas, and inspiration. It can also signify being watchful, guarded, and protected. This card can be about you or someone else. The Page of Swords is also a bit of a stalker. So this person may be watching you online or trying to keep up with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And it could be a good thing, and it could be a bad thing, but that's going to depend on the energy you're picking up and the cards that surround this card in the reading. but it does have that quality of being watchful and a little bit stalker. Some keywords associated with the Page of Swords are talkative, curious, ambitious, mentally restless, and energetic. In the reverse, this card can indicate that someone is all talk and no action. It can also indicate undelivered promises, scatterbrained energy. Someone is cynical, sarcastic, gossipy, insulting, rude, and there could be a lack of planning as well if this card shows up in the reverse. That is the Page of Swords. I think of the pages as students too. So it literally could be somebody who is in school, but I feel like we're all students of life. Life is kind of like school. There is life, school. So if the page shows up, you may be a student again in a certain situation, but it doesn't have to be school related. Maybe you just got a new job and you're learning and you're getting trained on the job. That could be a page energy. You're a novice, you're a beginner, you're a student, you're starting over. That could be page energy as well. Moving on, after the Page of Swords is the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords represents early adulthood. The Knights, to me, are early adulthood, so ages 18 to 30. And the reason I did this is because some people are 25, but still have a very young, childlike mentality, aren't fully matured, and some people mature at like 16, 17, 18 and are really in that adulthood energy. So that's why I broke it down the way that I did. So pages are 0 to 25, Knights are 18 to 30. They can kind of like mix and match, and yeah, they can kind of mix and match like that for me. It just depends on who I'm reading for, and it just depends on what the energy is that I'm getting. So adulthood, early adulthood, 18 to 30. And the zodiac sign associated with the Knight of Swords to me is Gemini. The Knight of Swords is a card of being assertive, direct, honest, quick-witted, and intellectual. It signifies being dashing, daring, brave, and courageous. This is the knight that shows no compassion. They do what they must, no matter what it is, and they do it quickly. This card represents very quick energy. The Knight of Swords is loyal to his allies because he holds the power to discern true from false, and he serves only the fair and loyal, fair and holy, but also the ones who are loyal to him, he will be loyal to in return. And I'm using the word he just because it is the Knight of Swords and there's a masculine depicted on this card, but I want you to know that you can be a woman and still resonate with the Knight of Swords energy. You can identify however you want and still identify with the Knight of Swords energy. There is no gender to the tarot specifically. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Also, the Knight of Swords is an embodiment of action and determination. It represents the drive to achieve goals and overcome obstacles. Some keywords associated with the Knight of Swords are quick, ambitious, action-oriented, driven to succeed, and fast thinking. In the reverse, this card can signify restlessness, being unfocused, impulsive, burnout, little to no direction, envy, defensiveness, and frustration. It's a very quick moving card, so if this card shows up in a reading, expect something quick to happen. If you're looking for change, expect quick change. Expect things to change literally overnight. Sometimes this card can also represent communication, so there could be incoming messages to your inbox, to your cell phone, etc. That is the Knight of Swords. After the Knight of Swords comes the Queen of Swords. And the Queen and King to me are mature adults that are 30 plus. So anyone 30 plus is gonna be a king or queen. I used to break it into like 30 to 65 because I feel like a lot of people over the age of 65, over the age of 70 are not really listening to tarot readings, but they might be. Shout out to you if you are. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're learning the tarot and reading the tarot, but I feel like most people over that age are not really connected to the tarot or really not connected to social media even, but some of them might be. So for me, I was always just thinking that the kings and queens were age 30 to 65, but it could be over that. So I wrote 30 plus today, but it represents an energy of maturity. The Queen of Swords is a Libra card. The Queen of Swords is incredibly fair. In the past, the Queen of Swords may have been quite sensitive and insecure, but this person has grown to be a judge of sorts. This card indicates someone who also does what must be done and doesn't allow feelings to get in the way, although they definitely experience feelings. Because this person has to embody and execute only divine, holy messages of what is true, just, and right, as well as having had to suffer so much through life, the Queen of Swords may come off as cold and distant, sometimes called a bitch and bitter. But the Queen of Swords believes that they must play the part of the strong one for things to go right. Some keywords associated with the Queen of Swords are independent, fair, unbiased judgment, clear boundaries, and direct communication. I always like to talk about how the hand is extended on this card, but the Queen of Swords also has the sword raised. So the Queen of Swords is receptive to hearing what somebody has to say and is receptive to the energy coming towards them. However, the sword is also up, where it's like, I'm gonna call you out on the BS. If you're not giving me what I want, I'm going to cut it out, just so you know. Like, I'm ready to attack if I need to. I'm ready to be on the defense if I need to, but I'm willing to receive what you're giving me. I'm willing to see what you have to say. That kind of an energy. In the reverse, the Queen of Swords can represent somebody who is overly emotional, unfair, easily influenced, bitchy, and cold-hearted. That is the Queen of Swords. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we have the King of Swords, which again is going to represent mature adults, 30 plus. And to me, this is always a sign of Aquarius. But again, I see people read it differently all the time. Sometimes people read this as a Gemini card. Sometimes people read this as a Libra card. That depends on what you pick up regularly and what you feel called to. But to me, I read this as an Aquarius card. So the King of Swords is an analytical individual. This person is always in touch with the heart of the matter, always casting away the doubt and emotions in order to see things clearly. But what I love about the King of Swords is that the King of Swords makes decisions that are balanced with head and heart. Whereas sometimes the Queen of Swords can ignore the heart and can ignore the feeling just because of what that person has gone through, and because the Queen of Swords believes that they need to be the strong one. That's like a belief that they have developed over time based on what they've been through. So they believe that they have to be strong all the time and they have to be the strong one. The King of Swords understands it at a different level. So the King of Swords always makes decisions and judgment that are balanced with the head and heart. I love the King of Swords. I love all the cards, but I just like to tell you specific reasons why I love the cards. Anyway, the King of Swords is more like a mentor, leader, or boss, in the sense that this individual orders people and aligns them, indicating the best way of doing things. The King represents the importance of institutions, laws, protocols, and order of any kind. Some keywords associated with the King of Swords are integrity, logic, reason, ethics, morals, authority, intellectual power, and courage. In the reverse, this card can represent quiet power. You may not be the loudest person in the room or the most visible in public. It can also indicate tyrannical. I know the word and I know what it means, but I don't know how to pronounce it, so it's funny that I wrote that down, but I think it's tyrannical or hold on, everybody. That was so weird. It just made me do a weird little puzzle to prove that I was like here. And I'm like, have I not been talking the entire time? What is going on with TikTok? Anyway, we're almost done, so it's fine. And yes, somebody asked if this is going to be posted on YouTube. It will be. Anyway, in the reverse, this card can represent quiet power. It can also indicate tyrannical, abusive, and manipulative habits, a misuse of one's mental power, a lack of structure, routine, self-discipline, power, or authority, and it can also represent carelessness if it shows up in the reverse. That is the suit of the swords, and that is the end of part 2. Thank you so much for being here.